Breaking up with my boyfriend for leaving my son home alone as punishment. My name is Laura, a 35-year-old project manager living in a suburban neighborhood. Balancing my professional life with being a single mother to two energetic boys, Ethan, who is 12, and Jake, who is 8, is no easy feat. Each day starts with a whirlwind of activities, preparing breakfast, ensuring homework is packed, and finally dropping them off at school before heading to my own demanding job. Evenings are filled with helping with school projects, managing soccer practices, and ensuring we have some quality family time despite our hectic schedules. 3 years ago, I met Mark, a 37-year-old architect, at a community charity event. Our connection was instant. We both shared a passion for our careers and a deep love for our children. Mark has 2 kids of his own, Lily, who is 11, and Max, a lively 6-year-old. As single parents navigating the complexities of work and family, we found solace and understanding in each other's company. Our conversations flowed effortlessly, often revolving around the joys and challenges of parenting, and it wasn't long before our friendship blossomed into something deeper. The early days of our relationship were marked by cautious excitement. We spent many evenings sharing stories about our children and discussing our hopes for the future. The idea of blending our families was both thrilling and daunting. We knew it would require patience, understanding, and a lot of love. For the first 2 years, we focused on strengthening our bond while slowly introducing the idea of merging our lives to our kids. A year ago, we took the significant step of introducing our children to each other. We started with casual playdates and group outings to create a comfortable environment for them. Initially, there were the expected hiccups, sibling rivalries, territorial disputes, and the occasional bout of jealousy. However, with time and consistent effort, the kids began to form their own bonds. They learned to share, compromise, and find common ground, whether it was through a game of soccer or a shared love for animated movies. As our children grew more comfortable with each other, Mark and I decided to take another step forward. For the past few months, we've been having weekend stays at my place, transforming it into a lively, bustling home filled with laughter, occasional disagreements, and lots of love. These weekends were a blend of organized activities and relaxed family time, from baking cookies together to going on nature hikes. Over the past few months, our families have been slowly integrating, with Mark and his kids spending weekends at my place. It has been a journey filled with ups and downs, but mostly, it has been a rewarding experience. The children, who were initially wary of each other, have started to bond. Ethan, my eldest, has taken to helping Max with his reading, and it warms my heart to see them sitting together on the couch, Ethan patiently guiding Max through a storybook. Jake and Lily, despite the age difference, have found common ground in their love for board games and outdoor adventures. Our weekends are now filled with the sound of children laughing, the aroma of home-cooked meals, and the sight of kids sprawled out in the living room, engrossed in a movie or a game. We've had family outings to the zoo, picnics in the park, and even a memorable camping trip where we all slept under the stars and shared stories around a campfire. One of my favorite bonding activities has been our Sunday morning pancake tradition. Each child has a role. Ethan mixes the batter, Jake sets the table, Lily slices the fruit, and Max, under careful supervision, flips the pancakes. These moments, though simple, have been instrumental in bringing us closer together, fostering a sense of unity and family. The idea for the water park trip came up during one of our family dinners. The kids were discussing their favorite summer activities, and the excitement was palpable when the suggestion of a water park was made. Mark and I exchanged glances, smiling at the enthusiasm around the table. We decided to make it a reality, setting a date and planning the details. As the day approached, the children could hardly contain their excitement. They talked incessantly about the rides they wanted to try, the snacks they planned to bring, and the fun they anticipated having. I could see how much this outing meant to them, and it made me even more determined to make it a special day. My work schedule, however, posed a small challenge. I had a few hours of work in the morning, but we figured out a plan. Mark would take the kids to the water park at noon, and I would join them as soon as I was done. It seemed like a perfect arrangement. I trusted Mark completely. He had proven time and again to be a responsible and caring partner. The night before the trip was a flurry of activity. I did the laundry, ensuring everyone had their swimsuits, towels, and extra clothes ready. The kids were buzzing with excitement, helping me pack a picnic basket with sandwiches, fruits, and drinks. Ethan and Jake took it upon themselves to gather their favorite pool toys, while Lily and Max sorted through a collection of board games and cards to bring along. I stayed up a bit later than usual, making sure everything was in order. I double-checked the weather forecast, packed sunscreen, and ensured the car was fueled up and ready to go. By the time I went to bed, I felt satisfied that we were well prepared for a fun and hassle-free day. The morning of the trip was no different. I woke up early, made breakfast, and went over the plan with Mark one last time. I reminded him of the park's address, the meeting time, and where to find the tickets I had purchased online. The kids were already dressed in their swimsuits, eagerly bouncing around the house. As I headed out the door to work, I felt a mix of excitement and reassurance. I kissed the kids goodbye, reminding them to listen to Mark and behave. I trusted Mark implicitly, believing that he would take good care of them until I could join them at the park. The anticipation of seeing their joyful faces later that day kept me going through the morning's tasks. Little did I know that this seemingly well-laid plan would soon unravel, leading to a confrontation that would test our relationship and my instincts as a mother. As I drove to work, I couldn't shake the feeling of excitement mixed with a hint of apprehension. But I pushed those thoughts aside, focusing on the joy this day was supposed to bring. The water park awaited, and I was determined to make it a memorable day for all of us. The morning at work was uneventful but busy. I completed my tasks with the usual efficiency, but my mind frequently wandered to the water park. I imagined the kids' delighted faces as they splashed around, the laughter and screams of joy echoing in the air. Mark had sent a couple of reassuring texts, confirming that everything was going smoothly. He mentioned that the kids were behaving well and were eagerly awaiting my arrival. Finally, noon arrived, and I wrapped up my work quickly. I was filled with excitement as I drove towards the water park, eager to join my family and share in their fun. As I pulled into the parking lot, I scanned the area for Mark and the kids, anticipating the sight of them playing and having a great time. When I arrived at the water park and saw that Jake wasn't there, my heart skipped a beat. Panic surged through me, and I could feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins. My mind raced with thoughts of where he could be and why he wasn't with the rest of the children. I rushed over to Mark, my voice trembling with urgency as I demanded, "Where's Jake?" Mark's nonchalant response only fueled my anger. "He's at home with your mother," he said calmly. "He didn't put away his laundry, so he didn't earn the right to come." My initial panic transformed into a white-hot rage. How could he make such a unilateral decision about my child without consulting me? Jake was only 8 years old. This was not a punishment that fit the so-called crime. I had washed the laundry the night before, and I hadn't even told Jake to put his clothes away. The injustice of it all made my blood boil. "You left him at home for not putting away laundry? Are you serious?" Mark remained calm but firm, which only irritated me further. "Laura, he needs to learn that actions have consequences. If we don't enforce rules, how will they ever learn responsibility?" His words rang hollow to me. This wasn't about teaching responsibility, it was about overstepping boundaries and exerting authority where he had none. "You have no right to make that decision without talking to me first. You can't just punish my son like that. He's only 8, Mark." The more we talked, the more heated our exchange became. Mark dug in his heels, insisting that we needed to present a united front when it came to disciplining the kids. He argued that if we didn't show a cohesive approach, it would create a chaotic and disrespectful environment. "Laura, we need to be on the same page. If we let the kids think they can get away with not following rules, we're setting them up for failure." His words felt like a slap in the face. "But this isn't your decision to make. You can't just decide to leave my son behind without even telling me. That's not how you build trust or respect." Mark's eyes narrowed, frustration evident on his face. "So what, Laura? I'm supposed to have no say in how your kids are raised? If we're going to be a family, we need to work together." I could feel the tears of anger and frustration welling up. "This isn't working together. This is you taking over and making my child feel like he's unwanted. This isn't about responsibility, it's about you overstepping your bounds." Realizing that the argument was going nowhere and that my priority was Jake, I made a swift decision. "I'm going to get Jake. This discussion is over." I turned to Ethan and told him to get in the car. Mark's confusion and protests followed me, but I was beyond listening. I gathered our belongings with a singular focus, my heart aching for my little boy who had been unfairly left out. Mark tried to justify his actions, calling after me, "Laura, you're overreacting. We need to show the kids that we're serious about discipline." But I was done. I wasn't going to stand by and let someone else make my child feel less than he deserved. As I drove home, my mind was a whirlwind of emotions. I felt guilty for leaving Jake behind, even though it wasn't my decision. I was furious with Mark for overstepping his boundaries and making my son feel punished for something so minor. Most of all, I was determined to get to Jake and make sure he was okay. When we arrived home, I rushed inside to find Jake. He was sitting on the couch with my mother, looking sad and confused. I hugged him tightly, assuring him that everything was going to be okay. My mother, sensing the tension, took Ethan into the kitchen to give us some privacy. I apologized to Jake, explaining that what happened wasn't fair and that he didn't deserve to be left behind. He nodded, still looking a bit bewildered, but seemed to understand. I felt a surge of resolve as I realized that I needed to take decisive action. I called Mark and told him that our relationship was over. I couldn't trust him to respect my decisions as a parent, and I couldn't allow him to make such significant decisions about my children without consulting me. He tried to argue, but I stood firm, knowing that this was the right decision for my family. I packed up all of Mark's and his children's belongings, placing them at the end of the driveway. I sent him a text to come collect them, making it clear that he was no longer welcome in our home. Then, I locked the doors and instructed my mother not to let him in under any circumstances. To lift Jake's spirits, I decided to take him and Ethan to a different water park. We spent the rest of the day there, enjoying the rides and the sun, trying to put the morning's events behind us. The boys seemed to relax and have fun, and I felt a sense of relief knowing that I had done the right thing. That night when I went to bed, I reflected on everything that had happened. As a mother, my heart ached for my son. The guilt weighed heavily on me for allowing my anger to take control and for chasing my boyfriend, Mark, away so abruptly. My son, Jake, didn't deserve to be left behind, and I couldn't shake the image of his sad, confused face when I returned home to find him. I tossed and turned, thinking about how I had always strived to treat all the children fairly, often going out of my way to be gentle and considerate towards Mark's kids. Lily and Max were wonderful children, and I wanted to create a harmonious, blended family where everyone felt loved and respected. However, the events of the day made it clear that Mark's approach to discipline was much harsher, especially towards my own children. It hurt to realize that he could be so strict with Jake over something as trivial as not putting away laundry, an oversight I hadn't even mentioned to Jake. I couldn't help but feel sorry for my son. He had been so excited about the trip to the water park, counting down the days with anticipation. Yet, he was left behind, punished unfairly by someone he should have been able to trust. I knew I had to stand up for him, to protect him from such harsh treatment. But as a mother, it also pained me to see the disruption and conflict this caused. As I lay there, I hoped that Mark would call or send a message to apologize, to show some remorse or understanding of why I was so upset. I wanted to believe that he cared enough to make amends, to acknowledge that his actions had hurt not only Jake but also the fragile balance we were trying to build as a family. An apology would have meant the world to me and could have opened the door to forgiveness and reconciliation. But as the hours passed, my phone remained silent. There were no calls, no messages. The absence of any effort from Mark to reach out and apologize only deepened my sense of disappointment and hurt. It made me question whether he truly understood or respected my role as a mother, or the importance of treating all our children with the same care and consideration. I replayed the day's events in my mind, trying to find some clarity amidst the turmoil. Was I right in my actions? Was I justified in ending the relationship so abruptly? I knew that my primary responsibility was to my children, to ensure their safety and well-being. Mark's harshness towards Jake had crossed a line, and I couldn't ignore that. However, the silence from Mark spoke volumes. It made me realize that perhaps he didn't see the error of his ways, or worse, he didn't care enough to make things right. I had always believed that open communication and mutual respect were the cornerstones of any successful relationship, especially in a blended family. Without these, how could we hope to build a loving and supportive environment for our children? The contrast between how I treated his children and how he treated mine was stark. I had gone out of my way to be kind and patient with Lily and Max, understanding their needs and trying to make them feel at home. I wanted them to feel as loved and valued as my own sons. But Mark's strictness with Jake showed a lack of that same empathy and understanding. It wasn't just about a difference in parenting styles, it was about fairness and respect. I questioned whether I had been too lenient, too accommodating, but deep down, I knew that my approach was rooted in love and a desire to build a positive, nurturing environment for all the kids. I believed in teaching responsibility and discipline, but not at the expense of kindness and compassion. Jake needed to feel safe and supported, not harshly judged and punished for minor infractions. As the night wore on, my resolve strengthened. I knew that I had made the right decision in standing up for Jake and ending the relationship with Mark. It wasn't an easy choice, but it was necessary. My children deserved a home where they were treated with respect and where their well-being was the top priority. If Mark couldn't understand or appreciate that, then he wasn't the right person to be a part of our lives. The next morning, I felt a mix of sadness and relief. Sadness for the end of a relationship that I had hoped would bring happiness and unity to our families, but relief in knowing that I had made the right choice for my children's sake. The path ahead would be challenging, but I was determined to create a loving and supportive environment for Ethan and Jake, one where they could thrive without fear of unfair treatment. I also resolved to be more vigilant in ensuring that any future relationship I entered into would be built on mutual respect and understanding, especially when it came to parenting. My children deserve nothing less than a partner who would love and treat them as their own. In the end, the silence from Mark was a blessing in disguise. It clarified his true feelings and priorities, allowing me to move forward with a clear conscience and a strong sense of purpose. My children and their well-being would always come first, and I would continue to be the mother they needed, fiercely protective and unwavering in my love for them.